you guys that we're really excited to have Sara Paul from Watch Duty here. And Watch Duty, it's a wildfire awareness app, if you're not familiar with it, and it's operated by experienced fire reporters and other collaborators who diligently monitor radio scanners and other sources 24 hours a day. So these volunteers, they'll listen, and if they hear stuff, they'll report it out through Watch Duty. They've created tools from messaging to alert systems to be notified of every fire across California, the whole state. They're on Watch Duty 24/7, and if you're subscribed, they'll keep you up to date when it matters most. And Sara is actually one of the founding members of Watch Duty. And so she's also a community wildfire mitigation specialist and a fire reporter. So I am very happy to have Sara here, and I will be quiet now and hand it off to you, Sara. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm going to do the share screen thing. Let's see how that goes. Let's see, let's try this. Share. Survey says, can you see a presentation?
Yes, looks like
Yay.
it's, yep, all good stuff. Okay.
All right, well, let me start by saying it's nice to see some familiar names in the participants list. Thank you all for joining today. Sonoma County has a very, very high subscription rate for Watch Duty. So I know many of you are probably familiar with this already, but I'm going to take you through my presentation. I invite questions at the end, and for all I know, there might be some other Watch Duty folks sneaking in on this presentation near the end, because we'll have a lot of participants, or I have a lot of collaborators in Sonoma County. So I'm going to move me forward here on this slide. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Little quick intro, what we are, why we are, some recent examples, and then talk a little bit about our future. So let's talk about me briefly. Roberta told you, who I am. I am a founding team member and a fire reporter at Watch Duty. I am a certified community wildfire mitigation specialist certified through an organization in Colorado called that meets U.S. Forest Service certification standards. And then I also went through the Wildland Fire Assessment Program here at Fire Safe Sonoma. I am one of a very small number of people, part of Fire Safe Monterey, that is growing in size. I run the Sonoma County Fire Updates page on Facebook. And then finally, I serve on some arson task force for a number of communities in Sonoma County. And so let's moving forward. How did I get into this? Well, like many of us, my awareness about fire, jumped up, into the stratosphere on the night of the Tubbs fire. And a friend of mine posted this on Facebook. She said, "We're packing, please pray." Now, I'm both a news hound and a night owl, and I couldn't find anything about this fire. Like, this is crazy. What's Ginger dealing with right now? What is this? And that basically led to the formation of this Facebook page. I don't believe Facebook is a fantastic platform, but it did allow me to start to share information about fires. So that page is alive and well today. I've probably got 15,000 members, and it is just the facts. There are other Facebook pages and other social media pages for Sonoma County, many of which was sprung up after Tubbs. But I'm pretty diligent that we just stay focused on this particular page, on just facts, just what's actually going on, and not a whole lot of other extrapolations. But since the Tubbs fire, Sonoma County has become rich in options in terms of finding information. The county has stepped it way up. SoCo Alert is there. We've got the wireless emergency alert system, which will ping your phone if something big is going on. We've got Nixles controlled by the Sheriff's Department. And then we have NOAA weather radios that can issue emergency alerts. Obviously, you have to have one of those weather radios, but they are freely available at almost every preparedness fair you go to. Someone will be trying to hand you one of these radios. And then we've got the high-low sirens and fire department sirens, by which I actually mean fire station sirens. So there's a lot of different ways to get the word out in Sonoma County right now, from the county, sheriff, and law enforcement side. And then on the other sources, you've got Watch Duty, you've got PulsePoint. And I know PulsePoint is a fantastic app. I mean, I know they've presented here before, and they what I love about PulsePoint is it is, computer dispatch. So you get everything that it's just a big sweep of everything that's coming in through Redcom for the county. What I don't love about PulsePoint is there's not a lot of follow-up. So you do not know what the resolution is. And the number of things that are reported as vegetation fires in PulsePoint, that is from the eye of the reporting party. It is not from the eye of the first person on scene. So that's where Watch Duty comes in to help say, actually, that was a barbecue, or your neighbor's learning how to use their smoker, or it's a dust storm. You don't need to worry. But that's where, PulsePoint is just a fantastic resource for all of us, but it does lead to a little bit of PTSD of the sheer number of things that are reported as vegetation fires, can be overwhelming. The Alert Wildfire Camera Network is another great source of information. The camera network's gone through a little bit of a change recently, and now you can find most of the cameras at a different location. There's a little politics amongst the organizers. And so there are still some left at the old site that we all knew, and now there's more at a different site, which I will share with you later. So you can still find the cameras. Flight radar and some of the other flight sources tell you what planes are in the air, which is very useful when you're trying to figure out specific information about a fire. And where is it exactly? Flight radar is perfect for figuring out where planes are circling. Broadcastify is a great resource if you don't have a handheld scanner. You can find scanner feeds for all over the county, and you can hear the CAL FIRE dispatch feeds. You can hear other important information. So I'm a big fan of Broadcastify for getting scanner information. And then finally, social media sites, including, I would have to say this, the Sonoma County fire districts have really stepped up their social media output in the last year, and it's fantastic. Hey, we've got a controlled burn going on over here. We've got something else going on, and they've been really wonderful about much more timely communications on their social media, which I appreciate as someone in this field. And then last but not least, the neighbor-to-neighbor communications are so critical across the county, as we've got folks who may not be comfortable with apps. They may not be comfortable with smartphones. And we need to make sure that we are keeping everyone around us informed of what's going on. If you learn anything today that you feel one of your less tech savvy neighbors needs to know, please go tell them. That's one of the strengths of this county, is making sure we all inform each other. So moving on to what is Watch Duty, and specifically, this could also say who is Watch Duty. There are a couple different ways. I was like, are we a what or are we a who? So I'll just jump in, you can decide. Watch Duty is a group of volunteers who monitor vegetation fires so that our users can make decisions based on real-time facts. We get our information from official sources, from CAL FIRE, from local agencies, from scanner traffic, from the Wildfire Camera Network, from monitoring a number of different sources. We have, and then a lot of us have relationships with fire officials in the county that will text us as telling what's going on with a particular fire. We do also have a direct line for any public information officers from any organization. If they want to reach us, they can. And we verify and publish this information on our built for purpose smartphone application, and also to a website. We are free, and we are currently active in all 58 counties in California. Some of you will remember we started in just 3 counties, Sonoma, Lake, and Napa. And in June of this year, we made the big jump, and now we are statewide. So talking a bit about push notifications, Watch Duty is actually best on a smartphone because we will send you information directly. It will ring in your pocket. If you're looking at our web platform, you will not get notifications. So that's why we really encourage people to put this on their smartphone so they get information directly. Users can pick and choose what counties they want to receive information from. You get up to 8 counties, no matter what. We figured that allowed people to keep track of grandma, of grandkids, aunts, uncles, best friends. 8 counties seemed like enough. You donate at any level, 99 cents a month, whatever, then you get all the counties you possibly want. So it's a small little Watch Duty secret. If you have photos of an event, you can share those with us, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that. If you see an incident, we'd love your photos. The service as it exists will always be free. I mean, that is at the heart of who we are. It feels very important that we keep providing this level of information. We may get to a point where we start doing different, I'll say additional things, which we might choose to charge for, but at the moment it'll all be free. And there's no plans in the moment to change that in any fashion. What we are not is a replacement for any official communication. We are a supplemental source of information. So that's why at the end of this, I'm going to talk about making sure we are all signed up for the official sources of information. We are really a bunch of resourceful, diligent folks who can pair it up with state-of-the-art technology to be able to share information. We are planning to expand to some other Western states and starting to, look into recruiting to get fire reporters in those areas. Oregon and Washington are near the top of the list. And we strongly believe that, information is power, and we need to allow people the ability to make informed decisions. I see a lot of our feedback email, and I would say about 40% of the email is thank you for I have PTSD from fires. Thank you so much for this service. That is really a big chunk of our email. And then another 40% is, hey, can you add something? Can you do something? Anyway, we love email. I'll share our feedback information in a minute. So anyone that wants to make a suggestion, it will be read. It will be responded to. Very small number of us. I mean, we get a lot of email, a shocking amount of email, and it's very important to us. So. All right, let's talk a little bit about how we operate. We have a very strict code of conduct for everyone involved with watch duty, and it's readily available. You can click the link and get to it. But basically we say you cannot, there's no speculation on cause. There is no hearsay. We have to corroborate all the data before it goes live. I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. We want to be concise because you're reading this on a smartphone. You don't want to, you want to be too windy. And because this reporting is, we want to make sure the minimal use of acronyms so people understand it the first time through and are not thrown off by something, an acronym. We value accuracy over speed. And when we make mistakes, which we will, we need to own them. So that's just one of the rules. So in terms of the actual team, there are about 30 reporters at this point. I do a lot of our reporter training. To be a reporter, you have to, you get tested. You don't just get the keys to the kingdom. You need to, show that you know what you're doing and pass a test. Those folks are monitoring and listing the information and discussing it. There's a whole lot of collaboration that goes on. We do our collaboration in a program called Slack. And when you see a fire gets posted, you may think, oh, it's just Josh Leone or it's just Nick Russell. It's like 3 or 4 people, 4 or 5 people having a conversation, checking information and verifying before things go live. It's very collaborative. We have about 15 engineers and designers on the team who are constantly making upgrades in the background to the app. And that's been phenomenal. As a reporter, I can make a request and sometimes it's an hour later or a day later and someone says, oh yeah, we fixed that for you. And it's fantastic. Our team includes active and retired firefighters, other fire department volunteers, retired sheriffs and dispatchers, and radio and communications experts like Damien Bunet, who may have joined us by now, I'm not sure. And then we've got software geeks, so many wonderful software geeks. And that is, basically our origin story is that Watch Duty was born and bred in West County on Sweetwater Springs Road specifically. John Clark Mills owns a piece of property up there, and he couldn't get information why is there a plane overhead with a bucket? Why is there a helicopter with a bucket overhead? And that's when he started looking around and, early 2020, trying to figure out how to get more fire information. And he is he's a software guy at heart, and that he found all the fire reporters out there putting information out, and this all got married together right here in West County to create this particular service. after we expanded beyond just Northern California and our 3 counties, we figured that we needed to organize ourselves geographically. So at the moment, we're organized into sort of 10 regions by using the Alert Wildfire Network, the wildfire camera networks, and then some CAL FIRE regions overlaid, so that people have, I'll say primary and secondary responsibility for particular geographies. Our team keeps a constant eye on weather and wind, it's always in top of discussion. And while humans are doing all the posts, we have built-in software bots that are scraping the internet for information. So if there's public information out there, we are finding it and integrating it in. And I'll give you an example of a little bit of that. So any computer-aided dispatch, be it Pulse Point, CHP, CAL FIRE, any weather information, all that stuff comes in. These are pulls from our Slack feed that says, and this was a vegetation fire, I think 2 days ago. This is what came in through Pulse Point and the information we knew. And then we've figured out, we make sure that the map shows up and everything, so you can see immediately what is in danger. On the other side, we get all the weather reports, the predictive services weather reports in terms of fire outlooks. We monitor all the cloud to ground lightning strikes, and we also monitor CAL FIRE plane activity. There's a lot going on behind the scenes to make sure that we have as much information as we possibly can. But these bots that are pulling information, all these dispatches make our lives so much easier. So quickly, how to use Watch Duty. I think most of you are familiar with this. You've got a map view in the front, you've got the size of the fire and the containment levels on the front page there. You've got the location, when it was updated. Photos and screenshots will sit below, and you can scroll up and down. If there's an evacuation notice for a fire, it'll be at the top of an incident. That's the most critical thing, is making sure that if there's anything related to evacuation, it is very, very easily found by people who might be in a panic. I'm going to move to the next page. Here are the 3 most important buttons. In the top right, if you are near an active fire and you can safely take a photo, please click the little photo link and send us a photo. We will not publish a photo if it doesn't have location information, and we need to make sure that it's legitimately that particular incident. So your location information needs to be enabled on your phones for this to work. On the top left, that's where you would set up notifications. That's where you can see our map legend. That's where you can make a donation, a few other little tidbits up there, but those are the top most useful thing. And then in the bottom left, that's where you can choose your map layers. We've been adding in more map layers of late. So if you don't see this particular combination, it may be time to update your app. But now we have air quality. We have, satellite imagery of satellite hotspots. We've got active fire perimeters, historic fire perimeters, and then we're testing out, this should be coming live pretty soon. I've seen all the mock-ups, evacuation maps and wind layers. So those are the next 2 coming up. I want to talk a bit about notifications. Once you click that notifications, click the button in the upper corner there, the hamburger, the 3 bars, whatever you want to call it, you'll be able to select, your counties. And then you can decide if you want new incidents only or all updates. Or if you want to remove that county altogether. And if you're traveling, you're like, hey, I'm driving across the state, you can bounce around. You can select and unselect counties as you need to. That's fine with us. We don't care. The one thing I wanted to mention is that we have, and about 3 months ago, started posting what we call monitoring incidents or silent incidents. And those are great for things like controlled burns, things where there is not really a concern, but we know there's a lot of smoke out there. So we want to make sure you're not going to get an alert on a monitoring incident. And that seems to cause a lot of confusion. So I'm going to reiterate that again, as I take you on a quick tour of our legend, which is, the legend is, if the more flames you can see, the less containment has been achieved. And the logo does get a little bit bigger. The icon gets bigger depending on the size of the fire. So, if it's a look a little larger on the map if it's larger acreage, but you work your way down from, to very few flames, if it's mainly gray, it's all good. And then that silent incident with the stricken bell is the thing I just mentioned, means we are looking at it, we're watching it, we're talking about it. It's not a threat, and you won't get an official notification. If that does turn into something threatening, oh my God, we will flip the switch instantly and make sure that you are fully notified. So jumping ahead, while we created this app, I talked a little bit about the background of that. But essentially, it was a bunch of similarly minded people, or all frustrated trying to get real-time data. We are born right here, and I want to say a thing about Sonoma County for a minute. Sonoma County has more reporters than any other county. Don't tell the other counties. So we are pretty. This is our birthplace, and I think Sonoma County is always going to get preferential treatment, and we're going to report a little bit more here than we do elsewhere, because we know people are nervous, because you're our neighbors. It's like, if I'm getting a text from someone saying I smell smoke, that's a sign that someone's nervous somewhere, and we need to make sure that we're even if it's just a monitoring post saying you don't need to worry, but something's happening. So you're going to see those, there's going to be a lot of prescribed burns coming up in the next month and a half. There's going to be a lot of smoke. So all those are going to get up on the app so that people don't need to worry. And we do report some of the smaller fires in Sonoma County that we might not make the cut somewhere else, but we just know, it's our friends and neighbors. We want to make sure everyone feels taken care of and knows that they can trust this resource. So scanner feeds are phenomenal. There is Fire Twitter and Fire Facebook. We kind of joke about that, but there are a certain number of people that sit within this space that are really good reporters on Fire Twitter. Most of them are now part of Watch Duty. Fire Facebook is just frustrating because you don't know where, if the incident you want is going to fit within Facebook's algorithms and going to be up at the top of someone's feed or down at the bottom. So that's a little bit annoying. And then official communication has been sporadic, but that's basically why we're here, is to fill that gap. And people consume information very, very differently. And my household's a perfect example of that. My husband is over here on the blissfully unaware until I need to act side of things. And I'm on the, oh my God, give me every piece of information side. And that is, I'm sure you all have neighbors that are in the same boat, how much information do they really want? So that's why we feel that this is in that, detailed, accurate information phase. When you need to make a decision and you need real-time information, that's where Watch Duty is for you. I want to give you a couple of case studies of a couple of recent fires. I'm delighted to say nothing in Sonoma County. But first I'll look at in Siskiyou, the McKinney fire, and then we'll look at Six Rivers fire. And these are very short case studies. This was the official communication from CAL FIRE to get information on the McKinney fire. I mean, if you're evacuated, can you imagine having to bounce through 8 QR codes? It just seems crazy to us. So, but that's how they chose to do it. And it just seems like, once you get your phone out and you find that the website's there, you do have good information, but it's now 8 different discrete activities you have to take to get information. And that was the only way they provided information. And then I'll compare that to what we did for the Six Rivers fire, which, here's your map, here are your evacuation orders, here is a live feed from the operational update, which is, you can watch the video from inside the app. And here are other real-time official updates. So we're just trying to consolidate everything. So when you are evacuated and stressed out and wondering what's going on, you just have to go to one place. So moving on to, where does Watch Duty go? That's an excellent question. We are looking at some, we've got a lot of features in the works. I think somewhere in the next week or so, once we all agree on what it is, you'll see a new icon for prescribed burns. I'm pretty sure it's going to be green. But that way, when you smell smoke, you look on the map, you don't even need to click. You'll be like, okay, it's prescribed burn. Like the thing, we just got a nixle for the prescribed burn going on in Jack London State Park because there's so much smoke being released that it surprised everyone. It surprised CHP, it's interesting. We're going to see some additional map layers. I just mentioned those earlier. We're going to see evacuation maps and wind. There'll probably be some enhanced notification options also coming out. A lot of the Watch Duty team also host Broadcastify channels for parts of their counties that are hard to reach, and we are going to be putting out more Broadcastify channels. They won't be branded in any fashion to Watch Duty, but just, we're trying to make sure the information is out there for anyone who wants it. And we're looking to more states and trying to recruit fire reporters for some of our other neighbors so that we can continue that. And then we're looking towards non-wildfire reporting. I'll talk about that in a minute. We have a lot going on in terms of building relationships, a lot of public outreach, trying to get more partnerships going with entities that can support us. We're doing some outreach to utilities. PG&E has amazing weather data. But right now we're working with them on some of their Broadcastify nodes because they also are trying to host scanner channels. So it's been interesting. That's interesting relationships as those start to evolve. And we're trying to work and foster relationships with other, fire officials, county officials, CAL FIRE, and the sheriff. Sonoma County has been, quite welcoming and can hope to continue that in other counties as well. And then we're also reaching out to a lot of the public information officers to make sure they know that we have a direct link for them to share information. And when an active fire happens, it's actually very easy to find them and let them know, but it's in the downtime, we're trying to use this time to reach out and make sure people know that we're here across the state. We also have a bit of a fundraising focus going on. We are a pretty scrappy startup. All of our infrastructure has been donated. And by infrastructure, I mean web hosting type stuff. That's all been donated, thankfully. All of our software development is donated or volunteer hours, and all of our reporters are volunteer. So there's a little bit of a sustainability element there. Like we probably need to do some fundraising. We're going to need to bring in 1 or 2 people full time to keep the ship going, because the ship is it's sort of a lot to expect to have close to 50 people working a lot to keep this moving forward. So that's in the fundraising is in the works. And then over there on the corner, if you've got any suggestions for us, things you think we could be doing differently, could be doing better, things you like, things you don't like, please tell us. I mean, we love feedback. And we will respond to your feedback. So send us a note. feedback@watchduty.org is the best place to reach us. And there's a limited number of us that read it. And in fact, I think now that I think about it, it's all Sonoma County people that read it. So send us what you got. All right, here's quick promo for our fundraiser that is coming up Saturday, November 12th at Little Saint in Healdsburg. There are about 24 tickets still available. And we're going to have a conversation about citizen resilience in the face of disaster. And the head of infrastructure for Sonoma County, Johannes, will be joining us for this. So it should be a very good conversation. But and now talking a little bit about our future, we will probably grow beyond wildfire. At least that's our vision. Just figured we have a lot of growing threats out there and a lot of humanitarian disasters. And how do we fit into that space? So looking floods, mudslides, and earthquakes are discussed a lot in our conversations. But that's basically, I think our heart remains on keeping people informed about things that might be a danger to them. And now I have one little bit. I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to put this slide up anyway. And Marika, you can feel free to throw this in the chat. I'm sure everyone on this call is already getting all the stuff, but let's make sure that you're signed up for Nixle. And maybe you want to sign up for Nixle for someone else, for your mother-in-law's zip code or someone else. Any zip code, you can get a Nixle. It doesn't have to be your own zip code. Again, SoCo alerts. Let's make sure Sam Wallace can get to you if something's going on. If you're visiting us from another county, this calalerts.org will take you to each county's alert sign up location. Knowing your SoCo evacuation zone, the Know Your Zone page, please, that's something else to visit and take a look at, and just make sure you know your zone. Write it down somewhere where you're going to find it again, because digging, when an emergency happens, you want to know it. You don't want to have to dig it up. If you live behind a locked gate in this county, the sheriff has a spreadsheet for their internal use only of all the gate codes, and making sure that your gate code is registered with the sheriff is another important element. In a case of an emergency, you want to make sure someone can get to you. And then finally, downloading Watch Duty. If you go to watchduty.org, that will take you to your local app store, either the Google Play Store or your the Apple App Store, and you can download us away. There's some harder tasks here that I talk about sometimes when I'm doing more of a preparedness-oriented talk. I think most of us in Sonoma County are pretty good. We have a sense of what our evacuation plan is. We need to make sure our family knows about it. If you don't have a go bag at the ready, make a list of the stuff you need to put in that go bag. And then finally, walk around your property and look for vulnerabilities. I mean, we have been so fortunate this year in Sonoma County, but it's not, this fire year is not over yet. So anything you can do to make a few improvements to reduce your vulnerability, go for it. And there's plenty of folks that will be happy to help you prioritize your lists of things that need to happen. And that just about wraps me up, and I'm happy to go to questions. So I will stop sharing and see what we got in the questions.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions. One that came up where'd it go? Okay, I'm over here. Oh shoot, I'm looking at the wrong camera, bear with me. Okay, so somebody asked, I have a few questions, but I'm gonna ask this one first. So what are the best practices for landowners planning a prescribed burn in terms of communication with Watch Duty? So if you wanna, it sounds like, so if I'm doing a prescribed burn and I wanna share the information with you all to put it out as a silent thing like you mentioned, is there a way to do that? Do you guys have that ability?
Yeah, there is. If you, send it to feedback@watchduty.org, and we will make sure it gets into the right spot. We love that sort of information. I mean, love.
Is there a lead time you might need, Sarah, for that? Like a couple days a week?
I mean, if we have a couple of days, fantastic. But I mean, if it's the morning of, that's fine too. And, most folks have gone through your prescribed burn may well show up on Pulse, might show up elsewhere. But I mean, we would love that information because it just helps to reduce everyone's level of nervousness when they smell smoke. So, yeah. Great.
Julia has a question. Go ahead, Julie.
Kind of the same thing. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for this, and Roberta for hosting. So do you guys have, I'll bet you have reporters who are members of the PBAs. And do you have protocols in place? Are you working on protocols with all the PBAs and everyone else who's doing prescribed burns to get that information to you ahead of time? I mean, today's a really good example. Everybody's going crazy. This burn was well publicized, but not well enough, obviously.
Yep. Yeah, no, exactly. So we do have people that are professional burners, for lack of a better term. And yeah, they we get their information, and the more the merrier. If you've got a prescribed burn calendar for any organization, send it our way. And if the burn doesn't happen the day it's planned, that's all right. We'll be checking, but just knowing what's coming up is very helpful to us, because we love to be able to promote that information.
Perfect. And then there's another question that came up. Can you address OnServe's Code Red app and how it's used? I'm not familiar with that myself, but
nor am I. Okay. Harold, can you tell us more?
Harold, please.
I thought it was related to Nixle. I may be wrong, but I believe it serves as an outlet for some officials to get notifications out.
I think the company Code Red is, they're a larger company. I think Code Red is what's driving SoCo alerts. I think that's the software behind SoCo alerts.
That may be the answer.
Yeah.
The other question I have while I have the bully pulpit is, I've heard Pulse Point may not be supported by the county in the future or used by the county in the future. Is that changed?
That has changed, I think, earlier in the year. I think it was earlier this year, maybe. Fire Safe Sonoma. I was guilty of sharing some inaccurate information at one time. So we actually brought Pulse Point on our Alliance meeting platform to kind of clear that up and talk about it. So if you go either the second half of last year or the first, I think it was the second half of last year. If you go to our YouTube channel, Harold, you should probably be able to find that. But yeah, it's alive and well, and there is no expectation of it going away in the near term.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I have a couple questions while we wait for other folks to drop questions in or raise your hand. So it looks like you do share other people's, other organizations' information. So it sounds like you guys collect other information. Ideally, I imagine, since you are a reporter, you'll double check the sources. And then if you feel like it's reliable, then you kind of package that all up and share it out through the app. Is that an oversimplification, or is that accurate?
I mean, that's about right. So, but we're essentially only sharing information we can verify. So that's the most important thing, is we need to make sure it's real and that it's a legit fire and not, someone's barbecue. So if we have information, there are certain districts within Sonoma County that are phenomenal about sharing, and it's wonderful, so we will put information out. If there are, Fire Forward and other organizations send us stuff about things they have coming up, yeah, obviously we're going to share, but we're also going to make sure that thing is happening on the day it's supposed to happen, because if it's specific to prescribed burns, a lot of times things don't, one shift in the weather and that burn's not going to happen on the day they originally thought. But yeah, we're pretty focused. We have an entire channel within our Slack chat that's just focused on prescribed burns. So, send us. We're the more information, the better.
I'm comforted in the knowledge, at least a sense, that your reporter background really plays a key role in a lot of this information, obtaining this information, packaging it, etc. My sense is that the stuff you collect and package is real factual information and not some narrative created by an outfit that calls itself a news source. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Help it. So let's see. And do you guys have any, do you guys need any help in the area, Sonora, in and around Sonora?
Sonora.
I have a good candidate of somebody who might be interested in helping.
For feedback, yeah. I mean, I'm always interested in good candidates. Let's put it that way. Okay. So please feel free to send them my way.
Okay, and then I think I have one more question, and this might be a tough one. I don't know, but what's your estimated capacity? So what would you characterize as, at this point in time, your breaking point to where you guys are so overwhelmed that you cannot realistically keep up with the data?
We had a couple of days earlier this year where midsummer, where it was deep breath all day long. And none of the stuff was in Sonoma County, I'm happy to say, but we had things going on up in Siskiyou and things going on in LA. And it was just, and also Tuolumne, and it was kind of nuts. And we've got fantastic people, in addition to the reporters whose names you might know. We've got some folks who I call extra ears, folks that just want to they don't want to be reporters, but they want to listen to the scanner and they want to relay what's going on. And those folks are absolutely invaluable to us during moments when we need excess capacity. And we had a few of those days this year. I would say it was probably it comes down, if we've got, 10 fires with evacuations on the same day, that becomes a problem, because there's so much information to verify and double check. So, but we adjusted this year. The one thing I wanted to tell you about Sonoma County that I don't think I mentioned, anytime there's a fire in Sonoma County, day or night, the Sonoma County reporters get woken up by a very, very, very harsh tone that you cannot sleep through. So you don't have to worry about something happening in the middle of the night and it not getting covered, because we are all getting if there's a vegetation fire, we are getting an alert that is basically generated off a pulse point. And from that, we are up and at it and online in less than a minute to make sure that we are, comparing, contrasting, and listing and making sure that it's a real fire. So that's just a little, I can't say that for all counties, but I can say that for Sonoma and Marin, that you have a little extra attention to make sure that we are not missing anything.
Perfect. Awesome.
The other capacity thing, Roberta, I'll get it to you while I have it. We have a secret weapon in New Zealand. There's a gentleman named Michael Sylvester who has been monitoring fires in California for about 8 years. It's his passion. And he's based in New Zealand, which puts him in a different time zone. So he's the night shift. So when people do want to, they do decide that they need to go to bed, Michael's right there, listening to everything. And he's kind of, I call him an oral octopus because he's listening to all these different feeds at the same time. But he's been he's well known to anyone on Twitter that follows fires in California. But I'm very honored to have him as a collaborator in this.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And I did want to mention, you guys are clearly donation driven, which can be hard sometimes. And if there's any way Fire Safe Sonoma can ever help you with obtaining grants or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us for any help there if you need it. The other suggestion I have, if you haven't used it yet, is reach out to the Sonoma County Fire Chiefs Association and the Fire Prevention Officers Association, because they're a dues collecting entity. And from time to time, they do donate to organizations like you. To keep things up and running. And clearly there's a nexus there, with the fire organizations, the Fire Chiefs Association, Fire District Association, and Fire Prevention Officers Association. So that if you haven't given them the pitch yet, my recommended definitely pitch to them. And if you want help, you probably don't need help, but if you want help getting on their agenda, we can help you with that.
I have to say we're new to this, we're the fundraising side is something, we didn't kick it in until about, after we went live across California. So somewhere in the last 4 months, we've, trying to put on a new hat and be fundraisers, but it's all the same people that are also fire reporters and software geeks. So it's, we're learning. So we appreciate any help you can offer.
Okay. Yeah,
Sarah, if people are interested in attending your fundraising event, do you have information that we could help share, get the word out for you?
Sure. Let's see. It would be watchduty.org/tickets is the okay. Best place to go there.
Okay. And the other just story of gratitude that I have for you is we were meeting with a community member recently, and she'd lost her house in the Nuns fire, and she said, because of Watch Duty, I can now get a good night's sleep at night, and I used to go to sleep every night with my windows open so I could smell smoke, and now I just turn my Watch Duty app on and I can have a nice night's sleep again. So I'm sure you hear these stories all the time, but there's a huge amount of gratitude for the work that you do that comes from our community.
We love those stories. I mean, absolutely love them, because it's so true. We have a lot of people who've just been living nervously, very, very nervously for 5 years or more. So this is great. We love hearing this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left. I'm going to take a couple minutes and kind of, like I often do, go off on a bit of a tangent. So Daniel Decay is in the house. And I don't know if you remember me, Daniel, but I'm Roberta McIntyre. I took EMT class from you in like 1980 or 81. I think Ken Swint and Star Swint were helping as proctors in the class. And I actually bought some dive gear from you. that I think I still have somewhere. But yeah, so I'm glad to see that you're still active in the space, helping people, a public servant to the core. And it's great to see you again. It makes me happy to see you're still out and about.
Thank you, Roberta. It's nice to see you too. And I'm still involved, actually, still teaching emergency medical courses, mostly wilderness first responder courses these days through a school called Knowles. Although I also work for an organization in San Francisco called Ready SF, doing similar kind of things with school staff and that kind of those.
Very
kind of
cool.
so, yeah,
Very
it's nice
cool.
to still be involved. And,
Yeah.
boy, watch duty is a great thing. I was looking forward to hearing from the source about how it all works, and I want to also say thank you very much for putting it together. I think it's probably going to be something that is a huge benefit and to everybody, I'll bet you, in the country and within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing it.
It's an amazing resource, Sarah, and it's heartwarming to realize it was an outgrowth of work in Sonoma County, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, all entirely. Yep.
So that's amazing. So anybody else have any final questions? Marika, are there any outstanding?
Yeah, it looks like Susie's asking if Watch Duty is one of the apps that's allowed through my phone's focus settings, which I believe it is because I have it on mine. You can select when you put your phone on silent or sleep, then you can select which apps and which people would still get through when it's on that notification setting. And I have Watch Duty on mine, so I believe that is correct. Is that right, Sarah?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, is that I've done that and it's great. I can just go to sleep and I know it can get through.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we reach you.
Yeah, and I have it on my watch too. It goes through to my watch.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh.
And I just got a ticket also for your fundraiser.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
you got almost the last
Yay.
one. Oh my God, that's so
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you, Susie.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really good to hear. All right, so I think that wraps it up. Marika, is there anything left that we need to deal with that I'm missing?
Nope, just a lot of gratitude coming through from everyone. So thank you so much, Sarah, for all you do. Please thank your team. We're all so grateful.
Absolutely. And if you've got suggestions or questions of any sort, technical or otherwise, feedback at watchduty.org. We'll get to you. So thank you so much for having us, or having me today.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And then just so everyone knows, next month, we're going to have Chief Ben Nichols on to kind of give us a history of wildfire in Sonoma County. And then we're probably going to be dark in December. So the November one is right before Thanksgiving. It's the Thursday before Thanksgiving. So then we'll be dark in December, and then we'll start off fresh in January under the handle of Fire Safe Sonoma Speaking Series. So same link, all that jazz. So yeah, we hope to see you guys all there. And yeah, so, and then also we hope to see you for the next month presentation with Chief Nichols. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us. So thank you guys so very much. And yeah, we'll, I'm going to go right now, and I'm embarrassed to say I haven't loaded the app yet. But now that I know everything about it, I'm going to go on in just a minute, assuming it's available in the App Store.
Absolutely.
I'm there. I'm there.
Thank you,
I'm doing
Sarah.
that. I'm not going to volunteer to be a reporter yet. My scanner's on 24/7, but I will at least sign up for the service.
Excellent.
And probably in the same time give you guys a donation.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you all.
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.